Okay, let's do that. Do I need headphones in? No, I don't need headphones in. Hello, online. I know the ads are running. Um, Bit on the sleepy side, overall doing fantastic. Similar. It's Thursday, making progress, having fun. Wish I was as I actually do wish I was as productive in my work day as I could be on Liquid Sky. I'd feel much more accomplished. Knee is doing better. Um, it's it's healing well. So another couple of months, and I might be able to get back to karate, which would be good. That's kind of my goal. Get back to karate. So continue doing the PT, and then yeah. How are we doing on lighting? Apparently we're doing okay on lighting, but we're cutting my head off. There we go. No flathead. Yeah. There one of those days where you just feel I just feel like I could wash my hands multiple times, like feeling grubby. Of course, the dogs are going to start now. Okay. Disoriented. Ba, 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 ba. Liquid sky. Liquid sky. Da, 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 da. Okay, here's where we are. I do love that this, that machine sat there. Right now it's on 24/7. But it never seems to just be off. Right? It's not like it takes a while for it to spool up or after I've not used it for a while. Or I've not logged into Liquid Sky. Yeah. When you just wake up. um I, I'm feeling I'm feeling rather than do this, I'd rather go take a shower right this second because I just feel groggy, I suppose, or grubby. Everything feels yeah. I don't know if you get those days, but yes. But anyway, that's for another day. So yesterday we were talking about teams, adding teams on here. Um, I ended the stream with getting the endpoint working with the gateway. So let's do that. Users post. So we have a need to capture user permissions for edit users. We do have already the user team association. And in this instance, we don't need to acquire anything. We just need to store the user teams. So we need a new endpoint. We update the gateway for the new endpoint. We've done those two pieces. Application handle to associate teams, publish teams updated event. And so we do need to publish some events here. So in the application, teams associate with user. So we got to this point. I'm going to try and write unit tests for anything I do going forward. I know it'll slow me down. I know it's not as entertaining to watch from a stream perspective. Like I get it, people aren't necessarily watching intently with everything, but it definitely turns people away when I do unit testing because it's not as engaging, or it's not as, it might be my opinions on it. It might be that it's just not something people like seeing. But if I don't start adding unit tests as I go, it just becomes a little bit more difficult later on. I'm confident I can write the code in the way I would do without the unit test. But, like I was doing with Liquid Sky, with developers.stream on Monday, adding those unit tests was really helping me figure out what I was trying to do. So it was beneficial. So concerning assign user um, teams. I'm not sure which direction I'm talking about this, because a user can be associated with many teams. So is it associating with the user, or is it teams associate with user, or is it associate user? Let's go with concerning associated user. The language here is going to matter. The concept is a user does not necessarily belong to a single team. They can be a part of many teams. And it's not a permissions level thing. It's more of a general visibility thing. Management, etc., doesn't necessarily need to be assigned to the teams to be able to see the sprints, whatever. They'll be able to see different things anyway. So, yeah. Ramley Geek, good afternoon. Hope you're well. This isn't the project I expected. Oh, you want to see the project? Liquid Sky 1899. So we had some fun last night. So we have Liquid Sky in a new format. So there we go. This is going to be the new Liquid Sky. New project management and planning through this. You can double click and you can see the requirements. There you go. I might have had 30 minutes this morning where I was like, I'm going to finish up what I was started there. So we now have a Windows Forms .NET 4.8 version of Liquid Sky. Yes, this is Windows Forms on .NET Framework with dependency injection. So we have the ability to do dependency injection. We got Entity Framework 6. So fast. So yeah, there's Liquid Sky 1899. We got it working. 1999 is Windows Forms in .NET 9. A little different, but yeah. So there we go. Send you over that code. When no users are associated. To be honest, for a while we've talked about Windows Forms and stuff, and even more just talked about DI in web forms and stuff, and it's something that just triggered me last night. I was like, can I do this? When we were talking about Windows Forms was available in Rider, I was like, can I do the dependency injection there? How would I do it? So it was more of a mental workout than anything else. There you go. Okay, so where do we go from here? So when no user associated, fact, users are associated. Teams, the perspective of this is bugging me, but the language matters a lot because it's the way you think about it, right? So we are going to a user and we are assigning a list of teams to that user. Are we associating the user with the teams or the teams with the user? Um, when no user, when users, I'll take full responsibility. Not any teams. User is associated given teams. So what we're looking for here is the fact that we can say, um, well, you're not, the thing is, I'm not adding a user to a team. I'm associating teams to the user or kind of, so the idea again is that you can be part of many teams. You don't have, you're not assigned a single team. You are assigned teams you can be a member of. Um, that way you could have QA and devs as part of, team whatever, gamma, and the QAs could be part of their own QA team. So they could have their own boards and work off their own boards that way. So it's more of a a focusing tool than anything else. So you don't add a user to a team in this. You would associate, and we can obviously change this around as we see fit, but um, the user is kind of associated with teams. But you said it's the way you're thinking about it, and the word associating seems to be confusing. So I guess the thought with adding is that you can add these to more than one team. Yeah, but the what I'm trying to get right is how I'm considering it there. Um, from a flow perspective by associating the teams and team together. Yeah. Um, so unit tests unit tests are best when they are describing the thing that happens in the user's view, not in the code. So I've got to be careful there. Concerning associating the user. Um, adding is adding more appropriate when users are not associated with any teams. Teams associate with user. That's that words correctly. It's teams associate with user. Just be more explicit. When users are not associated with any teams, associating teams with user. Yeah, so let's go with that. Associating. Um, beauty of code. You can always change it later if it doesn't fit. Tell you what, messing with .NET 4.8 yesterday was really uh, breaking my brain because the C sharp language version was so far off. Um, no primary constructors, um, namespaces, all those file level namespaces were just like, hey, Dota, how you going? Well, how's it going? Nice. User team association, entering a valid password. Um, it sounds weird with associating a team with user because that one sounds to me like each team can only have one user. For the whole term, teams associated with the user does make sense for getting all the teams associated with the user, which implies teams can have multiple users. You are right there. Let's change this. I know this might seem minor, but it actually does help. So endpoints users post users to teams. Yeah. One user can be on multiple teams. Yeah. What we're debating, or not debating, I would say trying to uh narrow in on it is the actual wording of how I'm thinking about this, because it's to one line's point, we're not associating a team with a user, but we're kind of linking. Org structure, or something like a plate of spaghetti. No one actually knows where it all goes. Um, Tech likes flat, military likes hierarchy. I don't know. I kind of disagree on tech likes flat. There's only who in the hierarchy you ask whether they like flat or not. Staff sergeant are pretty high rank, but at the same time they aren't even 50% of the weight. Yeah. To me, in organization in businesses, it's always been about how the people in certain positions feel they can get stuff done. Right? In the military, you expect a staff sergeant to be regimented, to be commanding, to be, uh, leading um, people, and that the people below them in rank are following those orders and following those directions to the letter to achieve a goal, right? Um, in business, you have people who like to micromanage, people who like to have control over things, people who like to assert their will, no matter whether it's good or not for the product. Um, so I found that tech might seem like they're like flat, but I think the developers, even the developers, we have a term junior developer and senior developer, and we put our own hierarchy in there, and we naturally align to a level of seniority there, even though we shouldn't, and we know we shouldn't. So even at the developers level, we put hierarchy in there. Yeah, a senior has more say than a junior. Like by we assign those ranks to people, and again, junior doesn't really mean very much because that person could be one of the better programmers in the entire team, but they have the least amount of say because of time. On top of that, there's also a natural pecking order feel to some teams where that overrides. Yes. Um, there's a quote like leadership is not just about you don't need to be of rank to lead or something like that. It's like um, you can lead from within. If because you can not you can gain the respect of those around you, and people will follow if they think that they're happy to be led by you. So yeah, um, so that's what I'm saying. It's more like spaghetti, right? Um, yeah. Um, some people are more comfortable with that. Some people are not. Assignment. That feels better to me than association, and avoids the more technical term of ad. It would be authority only in name that case. I mean, I've been guilty of it. I worked at a company and I was unofficially leading the team, but they put a person who was much younger with less experience as kind of the team lead, the de facto team lead. And my nose was put out there because I was like, well, hold on. Now, was I right to be upset? Probably not. Um, because that person had more respect in the team than I did overall, because he's just friendlier to get on with and less less demanding. Um, but I also don't fully believe in self organizing teams. So I believe we pretty much need direction at some point, and if you don't, yeah, yeah. Um, time is time should be actually the smallest factor um, in a lot of ways. It's why you should be encouraged to, like as developers, we should be encouraged to constantly improve. We should try and make sure that we are listening to opinions and listening to ideas, that we're not just dismissing things because we think we know more. Um, right? Having business acumen, having business knowledge, definitely gives you a heads up, especially if you're going into the management track. Having more understanding of how the business works and what it does definitely gives you some chances. Um, Speaking of that, measuring our delivery speed got me in trouble. I'm also fairly certain the CTO both helped and hurt things. Oh dear. Um, I'm going to go with this pattern for a little while. I'm going to define them up here. Let's see if I can guess all the things it's going to whine about. What don't you like now? Yeah, repository. Okay. So what we want to do is dot received dot add async arg dot is user team association. We rename that to assignments. It's an association at that point. Yeah. I still think it's a good idea to measure the time between deliveries. Deliveries of what? So, for what good? Oh, agreed. Yeah. I think it's 3 months or I think it's 2 weeks. You know, I 100% agree with that. Um, but time between deliveries? Are you looking for from are you looking at like I've talked about where it's more retrospective, like we aimed for this and we achieved this. Is that what you're looking for? That like, um, or are you looking to try and change the way you do things based upon? Are you looking to say, oh, it was 3 months between our last deliveries, or it's 2 weeks? Yeah. Um, how sporadic it is, you won't know if you want to change it until it's measured. But what do you change? Uh, so, oh, if you change, um, sorry, my brain is not focusing on two things at once here. I mean, if it's a 4 months all time, you'll want to be faster. But there's obvious cases like that. I suspect more teams won't have that as their reality. Most teams won't have that as reality. But that comes back down to um, how how accurate is your planning? Um, that's the only. I mean, how consistent is your estimation? If you're doing time based estimation, how far are you off? Right. Um, but it comes back. So 4 months between releases, yeah, is a lot. But what do you change in that process to get it to the less time? You have to. Why is it 4 months between releases? It's all coming down to how you structure the work going into it. If it was 4 months of work, then 4 months between releases was known going into it. Um, if it was yeah, we got this kind of work, we don't know how big it is, we don't know how long it's going to take, and it's 4 months, then the problem still comes down to the preparation and planning phase, not the only thing you can do to lower that time is get better at estimation, and being able to say that will take about 4 months, therefore our release will be 4 months away. So it's better preparation on the other side that's going to lower it. How's it an execution problem? Uh, so you for unit testing better, we want to be sort of fixing so many bugs, etc. So that's a measure of how much did you get on the work that was estimated for the release. How much time of that was spent fixing bugs that came back in regressions? I've said that before. Where I've said we often lose track of a feature. Um, Once it goes out to production, we don't measure the time it comes back, which means we don't understand if unit tests are being effective, or our testing strategies are being effective in general. Or if we had better deployment pipelines, it would have went to prod faster. Um, I mean, but it's everything that comes up to it, right? It's everything that preparation, testing, planning, all those things feed into that thing. It's why um, planning, control, scope, what you're tackling. I can't think of anything else. So, but estimation of the work is going to give them a better idea of what that release schedule is going to look like. So, is there a general complaint, or are you just not happy with like 3 month release windows? So, um, uh, team. So you're basing this solely off of reading the Agile manifesto stuff. Um, but it's not a direct thing that you can say we need to release more frequently if your business is not set up to do that sort of stuff. Um, Increasing your release cadence requires a lot more. And again, don't forget, Agile's also expecting better planning, better process, everything leading up to it. So more accurate estimation. A bit, the reason we estimate, the reason we point or whatever is to try and give a feel for how long it's going to take without actually saying how long it's going to take, but a relative effort. So we can kind of say, well, yeah, it's reasonable. But we can also then move things around in priority. We can be agile, but you can't be agile if you're not planning. Um, so to get to a faster cadence needs a lot more than just we need to release more often. It requires, okay, well, we need this feature. That feature's at least 3 months. Okay, then the release is 3 months away because, at least 3 months because, yeah. Um, it's likely the timelines won't be good. It's kind of like having a concert measuring its success by number of tickets sold and money made. Isn't that exactly how they make, how they measure? Uh, I mean, yeah. Um, um, what did I say this is going to be? Publish teams updated event. Um, um, actually, should I say rate? Actually, that's a good point. I should probably use the word raised. How often have I got is queued? Yes, we're going to change that in a second. We're just going to do a commit. But I guess it'd be a lagging indicator. Um, Estimation on work comes with consistency and predictability in the work, in the actual development. Support tickets are always going to be support tickets, right? There's always going to be a problem of some form. Better planning, better estimation, better practices in the software, more consistent and well tested software will yield lower bug counts on the other side. It won't eradicate them; they'll still come in, but how you react to those bugs is improved because you've got the testing. It's a cycle, but it all starts at the very beginning. In an existing software platform, you have to try and figure out how to get those practices in there so you can gradually steer the ship. But you're not going to win friends and influence people by just saying we need to release more frequently because you could rush out more crap um, if you're trying to release on a schedule without changing anything else, um, and end up with more regression. Yeah, it's not for certain you want faster or slower depending. A lot of times we've got to be prepared to go a lot slower on the development aspect to make the right changes, but few businesses accept that, and developers don't know how to necessarily relay that. So you end up with a bit of a catch-22 there. Okay, I'll stop folding my leg underneath me. I'm gonna hurt that knee and not realize. Okay, so I want to do. I want a private user team association Actually, what's going to trigger? This is a bit of a messy one. What's going to trigger the domain event here? Nothing's going to trigger the domain event here. So this is one of those scenarios where this is not a domain entity. It is a linking record, which means that this becomes a domain service, not a this moves here. And the reason being we need a domain event published by I gotta really figure out these. Yeah, that received, that publish. Yeah, there's a bit of a challenge in this one. So basically, if I can't have the entity publish its own event, if it doesn't own that thing, and I'm doing more than just a simple add or update, then I move this to a domain service because it's more complicated because I'm going to have to loop through these, remove any existing ones, and then publish an event with the updated ones on there. So that means it's not as simple, just change the object. So that's kind of my rule is once it gets a little bit more complicated, it becomes part of a domain service. And then that's, yeah, that is the pattern. Right or wrong, good or bad? Ooh. What do I want to publish? I want to publish arg.is user teams updated. Right. T gets the T dot user identifier equals expected user identifier. So this is going to publish the domain event, which is going to allow me to trigger other things within this domain, which is then going to allow me to publish Kafka. Right? So that's how that's going to work. Arrange act. Accepted. Arrange. Act. Realistically, we just need the subject. And the subject in this case is team assignment. Still feels messy writing those things. Public async task result. Assign teams language. Assign user to teams. And this is going to take okay. Okay. Assign user to teams. Yeah, fine. We need all sorts of stuff in a minute. So that's going to be our subject, right? Our subject service. So if there was a lot of logic, if there's a lot of behavior, if things are way more complicated, etc., those are always going to go into the domain service. They're not going to end up in a handler. For the most part, most of Liquid Sky so far is CRUD, and it helps to keep that just at that application layer where it's just doing basic updates, it's publishing small domain events on changes, etc. That works. But if it does become more engaged, like I've got to go and calculate off a lot of things, then I tend to, at the application layer, make a decision as to whether I need to call the service, and then that's kind of what the application layer is doing. It's just deciding, oh, have things changed? Is the data good to test, good to go, and move that on. So right or wrong, good or bad, it is what it is. Service. So this is our subject. And we're not going to do that there. Right. We are going to do that in our range. And because this is all referenced in the domain anyway, the events, is it team update? User teams updated. User teams updated. Still not sure about creating a single file per event here, but GUID user identifier, GUID source user identifier, domain event. Okay, so that's that. And t dot source user identifier equals source user identifier. So we expect that event to be published. We expect us to have called this method once. And yeah, so if we do subject dot assign user to teams, and we do expected user identifier, and then actually we need a cancellation token. Cancellation token. I believe I have over time, I think Mr. Anhorn does this style. I think over time I've kind of followed his way of doing things. Okay, so assign user to teams, cancellation token. That's fine. We go back over to our test. And yeah, this is taking a lot longer. But yeah. I actually did create an async version of this. Let's see what I managed to do there. Override arrange. Create arrange async. I did. Helps if you put things in the right order. Await. Yeah, I did. And actually, that's the act, so that doesn't really matter, does it? Await. Um, how did I set it up? I wonder if I can do that. So that I can do that and then do because the challenge comes in arrange async should call arrange and that should call act. 안녕하세요. So my daughter is trying to learn Korean. My wife hates it because if I'm trying to learn Japanese and my daughter's trying to learn Korean, the two of us can sit in the same room and do our own things. But all she hears is Korean on one side and Japanese on the other. We have been told off many times for doing our Duolingo. So actually, we do that. That means that, yeah. However, that's going to break. That's going to break because cleanup async. Is that a part of? Oh no. Okay, I get it. I get it. I made it virtual. So you can do dispose if you need to do cleanup. Trying to inject humor into the situation. So the problem with this is the constructor of this is going to override this. So we need to override that constructor. Oh, we can't do that though. Yeah, that will break everything if I try and do that. Because the protected constructor is going to fire all the time anyway. Uh, which just means I don't need to do that. And I should be good there. So I can, in here, I can still do arrange and it'll still fire, but I don't have to do either asynchronously. I don't have to, or if I don't want to. Um, these can still be asynchronous if they need to be that way. Yes. That is how I will do things. Good or bad, right or wrong, we will learn. You gonna run or no? Wow. Apparently, I'm not allowed to be logged into Restream chat anymore. That's that's kind of bad. You best not lose a chat connection to YouTube. Not that there's tons of people chatting on YouTube, but it's good to know if they do and not ignore them. Okay, so organization management. Quietly humming coffee, coffee, coffee time. Nice. Enjoy. Okay. So we're going slower to go faster here. We're making improvements. That's acceptable. Subject. What do you mean? It's uninitialized. Um, that's pretty much it now. So now we need to make it pass. So let's get repository. Let's go in here. Let's make sure we have repository of team user team association repository. And then we go back here. Let's make that in there. We're going to need that publisher as well. I can't avoid the publisher. Um, right, publisher. Yeah. Oh, that's not mediated publisher though. We need. Oh, it's not a mediator. I do not want mediator publisher. I want iNotification publisher. Right. I don't want that one. I want that one. That is mine. My implementation, and it's a wrapper around the publisher. What it gives us is the outbox. If I just use the publisher, it will work. I can still publish the notification. That's not going to break anything. However, with the notification publisher, it will go to the outbox, which means if this fails or rolls back or whatever, that event will still get fired. Or rather, if the problem happens with the publishing, it can still be replayed. Is that a little bit more resilient? So we have a time, we have a service, we have a sign, we don't do anything here. Let's go make it pass. So our team assignment service. Now, obviously, the problem here is now I don't have that application layer. So I've got to remember that just because I've got this passing doesn't mean that everything's working fine. So what we'll do here is we will take repository dot add async new user team association user identifier team identifier. There you go. And then we're going to do await publisher dot publish new user team updated, and that would be user identifier. We don't pass in, we're missing some data as well here. Awesome. So this kind of design where I'm having to pass this parameter down, this is where I've kind of for a long time I've wanted some sort of like aspect oriented programming where basically I would have a context of this call and I'd be able to pull the context. That'd be awesome. So if I'm making something within the context of a tenant or a user, etc., the call would be wrapped in the context. And in here, if I could just do context dot, even if I had to decorate it with, context type of right, then yeah, because I always find that having the parameters like this does blur the lines. But that's not possible. So no, not user teams. User team updated. Yeah, there we go. So now we should be able to run this in a second. We need to have our parameter source user identifier. Let's make sure that's readable. I'm going to leave it there. Should fail. Should fail because I've passed it the wrong ID. Should pass when I do expected user identifier. Does it pass? There we go. Okay, so our service is at least adding those records. When user is assigned to all teams. So we're sending the request, but they're already assigned, right? We don't need to publish an update. We don't need to do anything else. Fact, not created. Fact, no, no, yeah. So that's what I want to validate. I'm going to take some of this already, just for. Okay. Is that up? Having a quiet day today. So we're going to send the same request with the same teams, but they're already assigned to those teams, right? So basically this is did not receive, and this is did not receive, and our configuration looks very similar. Arrange at async. I think arrange act async may make way for just arrange act, and it supports async. We can override either one. I mean, in most cases, we're probably doing this anyway, so it might be just kind of implicit. Team assignment service. So now what we need to do is in the repository, dot list async arg dot is. I really wish I could figure this out. Existing teams for user identifier spec. Can't do that. I got any cancellation returns. New user team association. Okay. And this is going to live inside of specifications over here. And this is sealed. If you're new to the stream, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to ask. I'm happy to talk about what I'm doing. But, that needs a GUID. User identifier equals identifier. So the problem with this is I haven't figured out a way of validating this within substitute. I haven't figured out a way of validating something that is a class that I want to validate that I passed the right parameters to, and I can't access the internals of. So I haven't found a really good pattern for verifying specifications at that level yet. So now didn't I do that originally? And it was like, no, you can't do that. It's fine. So this should fail, right? It should fail because, I don't check and I just add, right? The original still passes. Let's now go and make this pass. So what we need to do first is go and fetch any existing team assignments equals repository dot list new existing teams, and that's user identifier CT. Let's await that because otherwise I'll be confused. If existing teams to any team identifiers equals team identifiers dot where I dot where Oi, did I say you could eat that napkin? No, we're just going to tear it up. Okay. Look, he found a napkin. It's his favorite thing to do. So normally it wants me to do that. So So where we have this is two listed anyway, by the way. So once that comes back, it's a list. So it's already two listed, which is why it's not complaining. It can enumerate over that. Um, I could just do that, right? Um, I still have to do. Um, Interesting. Any, yeah. Uh, right. So are we adding new ones? That should meet the requirements of that. Oh, if existing, where existing team assignments all not equal to that, just add that. Fine. So that breaks that. Existing, where it exists in the existing team. Otherwise, go through them and add them, right? So that should, any that are not there, when user assigned to all teams, um, oh, dingling. That is because I'm returning, I'm not setting up this call. So in this one, I need to set that call up still. I just need to make sure it returns an empty collection, right? That's all that is. So this should now pass. Expected to receive exactly one call. No matching calls. No matching calls. What did I do with that logic there? I flipped something wrong there. So existing teams returns an empty array. I get team identifiers where I'm all not equal, right? Because that's where there is no matching existing team. So what's it saying? What's it saying from that? Why am I blanking on this? Expected to actually receive one matching call. Okay, now I've got to debug it because my brain is not braining on this logic. Something seems simple and I've overlooked it. So we have an existing team identifier of 59E and we're passing in an array of 47. What? Where's 47 coming from? Oh no, 478. Oh, you know what helps? It helps if you are looking at the right field, I'm comparing teams, right? I'm not comparing. I've got the teams for this user. I need the teams for this user. I was comparing an apple to an orange. There we go. Passing tests. Okay, so let's commit this as it stands right this second because I want to do some quick refactoring. Actually, um, modify async arrange act to call base methods. So between um, async, no, async. Sometimes it's better to not use your brain instead. Listen to your heart. Yes, I did just think that as well. It's all good. Um, include permission for editing user. So that permission, that user permission, because I started up the application yesterday, should actually already be in the database. So we go to view tables, permissions, edit users. There you go. That probably needs to change. Probably need to deal with a refactoring of that. I want to kind of subcategorize using the that syntax, but we can worry about that later. Edit users is there. Um, um, assigning. I don't want that. It's not going to be called associate with user. Associate, assigning user to teams. Into the main service. Include a show events. Tests. Now I've got a song in my head. Thank you. Okay. So now, when user is no longer assigned to team, right? Fact. So no user team association is removed. Fact. User team's assigned event is queued. So we still need to publish our new event. Well, wasn't intentional though, just kind of came out. Oh, no need to apologize. All fun. So again, I'm going to copy and paste this stuff. It's not exactly the right thing to do here, but I do not want to spend a ton of time with structure when I can move this on. Now, wow, you got banned fast, flattering. Oh dear. So in this case, we're going to rename some things. Existing, no, we need private grid existing team identifier equals grid. So in this case, our team identifier is going to be existing team identifier. What we want to see removed is that existing team identifier, but the new one needs to be inserted. So that new user team association is created, right? So in this case, we want to see repository dot received one dot delete async arg dot is user team association. A goes to a dot user identifier equals expected, and a dot team identifier equals existing team identifier, right? And then we want to say the same thing for add with our expected team identifier. So, and that our event is queued. So now we need to see this. Now, are there going to be cases that where I've done this sort of behavior inside of an application layer? Yes, likely. I definitely know I've done some of this stuff in the application layer before, but I really think that once it gets to this level where there's a little bit more vague behavior, like you can see how this is kind of stacking up now, that this becomes a domain service rather than an actual application handler. Now, the application handler might say, okay, well, are there any differences in teams, right? It might validate that and not bother calling the domain service. So the application layer just says, okay, just check. Is there anything worth doing here? Like, are all the teams present? Then we're good. I don't consider that validation, but that is kind of like a level beyond validation. Okay, so we should see a remove, we should see an add. Existing, we're still passing in expected, right? We still expect to see that team, but we expect to see the other one removed and the new one added. So let's run that test. And surprise, surprise, we got that one. We didn't queue the event. Interesting. We didn't queue the event, but we did add the new user team association is created. User team association was received and expected to receive that and didn't get anything. How does that happen? How do we not get, how do we get there? We don't get there. Let's repeat that. So existing team identifier. Oh, because I'm not paying attention. Okay. But I mean, that's an example of what unit testing is, right? I know what I'm expecting to see by the things I've said I want. So I know there's a smell there, and that's exactly what unit testing should do. I should be finding these things because of these tests. These are really easy things to miss. I'm missing them, but the tests are stopping me from proceeding with the code. That could have created all manner of problems. Um, Especially the one before I was comparing team identifier and user identifier, because there's actually a potential that you could actually send the wrong thing and delete or remove something, or delete or add something based upon a very wrong value, and it would be very hard to find. So the unit tests are definitely doing that. So let's go make this pass now. And then I think we're done with this piece. And we can move to the application piece, which should be, for now, I'm going to forward it. I'm not going to do very much, but we could move to doing a little bit more. So we know what the existing team assignments are. And so var remove team identifiers equals existing team assignments dot where t goes to t dot team where, sorry, team identifiers all right. So we flip that query and we say any to remove. So let's start with that one. Actually, no, it's shorter if I do it this way, isn't it? Right. The team identifiers have now been stripped of any that we already have. Actually, it matters very much, doesn't it? Is a unit testing proof though. Yeah. For each bar, so there's actually a cleaner way of doing this. Because of specifications, team assignments by identifiers spec. What I can do is I can do specification of user team association. Let's call it right. Team CTOR. If we pass in params skewered, I don't need params there. Params is useless. Identifiers. And then we do query.where key goes to identifiers.contains identifier. I believe this works. What we can do in the code is we can do repository dot remove the delete range async new team I'm actually starting to think that that is um, um, I'm actually starting to think that is a side effect of the service. That pause is like the language service is just taking the time. So rather than looping through, I can just do delete range, and it should do a delete where in, so a more batch delete. Probably can do that. Remove that. That tidies that up a bit. Now, what I'm expecting here, apart from the fact I need to make sure that I do received delete range async. Now, the problem with this is I can't validate this in the same way I can the other one. So I can't validate the arguments I'm passing in. arg.any that so that actually leaves me open. The reason I did it this way, right? That passes. But what that actually does is leave me open to a problem. I don't know which identifiers I'm passing in there. If you look at it, though, from a code perspective, there's a very subtle bug in there. I go and get the existing teams, and then I strip from the teams. I believe there's a bug. Yes, I strip from the teams any that exist in here already. So if I pass in, the one I'm passing in doesn't exist in here. So this now contains that. Will it do that? What scenario did I think about before? I've removed a team that exists from here. Yeah, because now team identifiers doesn't contain one. So when there is one that exists, I will remove it, which means that now it isn't in the list, and I will remove the existing record, and then I will not add it back. I need to do this before I do this, right? Oh, right. The test will still pass because I'm doing the right thing here, but yeah, I need to do it on the list I've passed in, not the list after I've modified it for the existing one. So this will remove teams that aren't in the incoming list. So now this is only going to get the ones. Now that's going to get the updated list. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yes, because it wasn't in the original. Therefore, we're adding it anyway because this is now post that. This is where we are passing in a list of identifiers that don't exist. So yes, we can do that. But from a testing perspective, I could validate that I don't call remove on anything. Um, right? Team assignment service. Um, if remove identifiers that any, right? That's just that'd be good practice. What we could do here now is refactor this to remove no longer associated teams. And then associate new associations. and then don't need that. Now you can see I just changed that logic. Now we get a problem. We should have a unit test failure because this is publishing. Yeah, no, when user is assigned, we shouldn't publish, right? So that's an interesting refactor. From a readability perspective, yeah. If I prefer that from a readability perspective, I prefer that this is done at this level, not at this level. Actually, that's an interesting one. That breaks. Okay, that's a problem. Expected to receive one call matching. Actually, I'm going to leave that is that refactoring is good. The weird thing is there that this one is not being hit. How is it not being hit? Right. User team association is removed. There's no reason for that to happen. Remove no longer associated teams. So we pass in team identifiers. So the interesting thing is, apart from the fact that cancellation token really should live on the end. I don't know why it does it that way. It actually is my refactoring that introduced that bug because I move things around, and since that refactor, things are not working. So why are they not working? We pass in team identifiers. Yes, the yellow squigglies were bugging me, but that's fine. Multiple enumeration. Multiple enumeration there is not really going. I mean, that list is not changing underneath us, and yeah, but now we've got a defined list, so it's fine. That won't change that behavior. Remove no longer associated teams. So we take existing team assignments where our team identifiers, where not, right? Where there's none. Yes. There we go. That's passes. Now, one test case that's going to fail here. When removing all teams. Now, this is actually a requirement, right? So if we're reading the requirements, should be able to clear all teams. That is a requirement of the item. What we should see here is fact. So the reason I'm jumping back to the old test, the other test, is I want to make sure that I'm consistent in the way I'm wording these things. I don't always remember what I've called them, um, but it's really useful to make sure that you can see, oh, that is the same thing as that. That is the same thing as that. But I should also cue the event, and you'll know if you were paying attention to what I was doing that I introduced the bug. So I'm writing a test to prove the bug before I actually go fiddle with the code, and yeah. Um, Most of this is identical. The only difference is we're going to pass in an empty array rather than. Okay, so we do that. And then here we have this need still. The only difference is we're going to pass in nothing. Right, this field goes away. And yeah, so this remains the same. If anybody has used add-ons specification and does use end substitute, which I'm not entirely sure would be the case, but please, you know. Okay, so this one will pass the first test and fail the second one. Oh no, two tests failed. What did I screw up there? Uh, Delete range async. So we return this. We're passing in an empty. That's the very definition of doesn't exist, right? Use the team's assignment. Receive delete. We should receive a delete for that one. Passing an empty array. Don't. I was speaking to Deltro a long while ago, and one of the things he said was he considers it a failure to have to debug your unit tests. I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but these days I do try and stop before I go too deep on this. So we pass in a list of empty, so where any existing team assignments, where the team identifier, that logic isn't right, is it? Why can I not do this today? Where the team identifiers I'm passing in. Well, it's not. It's that, isn't it? Where not all. Yeah. Where all these identifiers are not equal to the team identifier. So there is no existing, we're not adding that identifier in there. Yeah, that's fine. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Okay. So let's make this a bool. And if not, return false. Await, return true. And that's return false if not any. Yeah. So um, var teams removed. No. Associations were removed. Bar associations were created. If associations were removed, why? Or associations were created. Test pass. So we remove anything that we don't have. We add anything we don't. Oh, we remove anything we don't want. We add anything we don't have. And if we do so, we publish the event. Yeah. Yes, they're aligned. That's what I should have done in the first place. Okay. Verify that. I don't want to add that. I don't want to add that. Where are you? Associate with you. I don't want that. Verify tests. You can remove. Now, again, what I've done so far works fine from a code perspective, but I haven't validated that that actually runs exactly as they intend through SQL. That's why integration testing is something that I really want to get to. I just don't have the time or ability to do that right a second. But it would be the ideal path. Verify with tests that we can remove. Associated teams. And publish. Really commit and push. Let's get this off the machine. Okay, so now we do this. We do application teams. So we've just gone through all that effort referring to this as team assignment. We assign user to teams. So this is going to become assign user to teams. In here, we're going to pass the same thing we did before, except we're going to create a domain service, which is going to be extract interface. That's going to have assign user to teams. Hello, it's Hap. How you doing? How are things with you today? Then we're going to inject. I don't think I have a pattern set up for that yet. Doing good. Doing good. There's our domain service added. I might have a pattern for that a bit later on, but we'll not worry about that right this second. Service. What am I working on? Right now, I am working on a product I've been building for the past year or so. It is a project management and planning application. This is the current version running. I'm using it to dog food the product. This moment I'm working on associating users with teams. So the product looks like this, where you have planning items and you have tasks and assignments, etc. So, and the piece I'm working on right now is for users to be able to be assigned to a team or one or more teams. So this is right now I'm providing the API endpoint so I can establish a relationship with a user to a team. if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to share. If you want me to show you anything specific, this is not open source. This is intended to be a product. There are components of it that are open source, but I am always open to thoughts and opinions on what it is doing. So I do not have to be writing code while I'm streaming. I do a lot of this stuff off stream as well. So yeah. So what we're going to do here, we are going to essentially right now return await service.assign user to teams. And we're going to pass in command.user identifier, command.team identifier is that, and then cancellation token. Right. Now, hey Syzygy, how you doing? Sorry. This might seem redundant, right? I'm calling an application layer to call right into a domain service, but later on I can put some validation here. I can put some checks to see, have teams changed? You know, this can do a little bit more at the application layer level to say whether it should do this thing. And then that thing is literally only responsible for, it knows it has work to do. So this is more of a guard layer. What we'll do from this side, I'm working with Java. I'm not familiar with C#. They're close enough. You can follow the code. There's okay. Now, again, in this case, this is only a Boolean result. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out. And this is going to be new. Associate. Did I rename it? Associate with. I did not rename the file. There we go. So the command we are going to send, right, is going to be that. Assign user to teams. And in here, we're going to say, how do we get the parameter out? Oh, haven't done this in a while, have I? Yeah. But yeah, if you have any questions, etc., you're more than welcome to ask. If there's technologies you want to see, this platform is a rather complicated platform at this point. It is a distributed system using Kafka. There's lots of other pieces. How is that you're handling authorization authentication? So when you sign up, a user is created with auth0. So authentication is handled through auth0. When you come to make a request, because it's tenant based, the gateway, if it's an authenticated request, it will call back to a backend service, which will then rebuild another token, and the gateway will then use that token going forward. So all these are authorized via internal identity process. So there's a system that sets up permissions. So if I go into the application here, right, these permissions are all handled internally. So when you go and make a request, the a token's rebuilt and cached internally, and that's used to pass to the back end so that we can do this, right? So you have to have edit user permission to touch this endpoint, and it will fail appropriately. There's also on the client side the concept of permissions, so we can just say, do you have this permission, and it will hide or show buttons and stuff based upon that. Yeah. What am I doing here? I need to public period ID. This is the user ID. I think this will work. Let's call it that. Right. On the DevOps side, I'm using Pulumi to publish to a Kubernetes uh, system. So I have a locally hosted Kubernetes box right now. A Kubernetes box, it's a mini PC that runs all the services, all the SQL, all the Kafka. This is genuinely different databases. These are not tables inside of the same database. This is actually many databases. Um, this piece uses Mongo. There's RabbitMQ, Kafka. Uh, I rely a lot on Kafka for data transfer. We got GraphQL API here. So there's a lot of things running. So basically I set up a Pulumi configuration to deploy the entire thing. So I can just say Pulumi up and it will deploy to the cluster. A lot of learning on that side for me. This area, very happy with. This area, I have to do it. Therefore, that's why the UI doesn't look the best, but it is getting there. I'm definitely happy with the backend service. Sounds complicated. When this project started, it was started with the intent of learning first, and it still is learning first. I don't care. Like, I would like to take this to become a real product. I really do feel that it can be. There are some things in here I think work really well so far. A lot of it isn't anywhere near done. But the intention was to prove out a system that I thought could be designed and built and learn some of those things along the way. Yeah, so we have an entire backend system as well. There is an alternative system for management of tenants and things like that. That is being built out in a similar pattern. Yeah. I have been a developer for over 25 years professionally. So I've seen a lot of different systems. I've seen a lot of different designs. I don't, you know, this was started very much with the idea of, can I do something the way I want to do it? Right or wrong, good or bad, don't care. It makes sense to me. So request dot user identifier, request dot teams, user dot get user identifier. I think that's it. Yes, and CT, and then all we do here is that. We just return OK. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I need to figure out if I've done this before. I think I have in planning. So the code is organized, believe it or not. Identify GUID. Yeah, there you go. Buying from. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. Identifier. Buying from identifier. There you go. So from a code organization perspective, this is now 90 .NET projects, multiple APIs. The application does use .NET Aspire for pull everything together from a visual perspective now. That was a recent change, a good change as it turns out. There is a Discord linked in the cards below. If you are new to the stream and you've been in here before, if you are interested in asking more questions, I'm happy to share design. I'm happy to share uh, comments and questions offline. Um, More than welcome to join the Discord. Um, and chat more if you desire. Oh, uh, yeah, no pressure. Like we often do hang out in voice chat as well if anybody is interested in that. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. No pressure to join there. But again, if you want to see some of these diagrams off stream, if you want to ask questions about how things are achieved, I'm happy to share a lot of stuff. But the source code is not it's not open source for a reason. There's a lot more to manage here than that. What I'm trying to figure out right this second is, can I test this before the end of the stream um, with a call right through? So I think what we'll do is we will sign in. We'll go to users and we'll go to Jeffrey and we'll give him edit users. We need a confirmation dialog up there somewhere. That should now mean that Jeffrey is allowed to edit user. So if we do Redis Insight. So obviously I've got teams here. I've got users here. I don't have, are you working on this all on your own? Yes, for the most part. The backend service, so I do have two other people who I've invited to kind of join me in this, but there's no pressure on them to deliver anything. Part of this, or a lot of this, is developed by one of those people. It's not fully worked out, but it's kind of a project that's in flux. But other than that, yes, everything else is developed by me. I would not recommend doing this by any stretch of the imagination. It is a bit insane to be doing what I'm doing, if I'm honest. Yeah, distributed system, and the number of features that I want to put in this, the number of things I want to do. Every time I add something else, it does increase significantly beyond what I can really do. So, yeah, there's a lot to it. But if I can get it to a point where it's a real application, then I can look at, making it pay for itself, which means that I can involve more people. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and make a request for a user to add to associate with the team, right? So this is a previous version, but that's that. So we need auth bearer token. There you go. There's the bearer token. So that has the auth 0 put you um user authentication ticket in it, right? So it goes to the gateway and it says, oh yeah, I got that. I'm interested in distributed systems. Not something I do at work though. There's a lot of lessons to learn. Distributed systems, a lot of challenges. So, things like when I send data, if I send data in two different paths and they kind of have associate data, because again, I'm splitting up the data here, right? So in this case, organization management has a reference to a user existing tenant management. So when I publish this out, those two things have to join in the view for me to query them. So I know, oh, this user is associated with this team. If I get the team first or I get the user first or whatever, I can't just say, well, I'll wait around for that other data to make sure that you've got everything you need. It has to stub out pieces of the data. It has to make sure, have I seen this message before? Is it older than the one I have? Am I going to replace the data I have with incorrect data because someone's replayed a message? There's all sorts of challenges that come with that distributed nature. So what I'm going to do here is this is going to take an object of teams, and this is going to have a GUID of teams. So we're going to assign alpha and delta. Right, we're going to assign alpha and delta to user Fred. Right. Cannot create DB set for user team is including the model for the context. Ooh, well that hurts. I forgot the piece where I associate the thing with a thing. User team association, so RSTU, public DB set, user team. Nope, not planning. Not planning. Wrong domain. Public DB set, user team association, user team associations. So, yeah, you'll be fine. Okay, so that's that association. Now, what I can do is, thanks to Aspire, I can go and restart organization management over here. And that should load that context, and now the request can go through. Nope. But you're just being slow because you're starting up. Come on. Ah. Ah, really? Did I not put enough? Add new class, user, team, association, configuration. I'm a bit confused as to why I managed to do that, but entity, type configuration, user team association. So this object, I don't care about setting it. I'm handling it. These are underneath. That's why the primary key. Yeah. So once more. And again, to me, what matters most here is that I am able to identify these things in a relatively quick manner. I'm able to identify. There you go. So we should have now. Let's see. Tenant management, organization management, DBO tables, user teams associations. There you go. 2 records for Jeff for Fred. Now, if I remove one of those, we should have 1 association. And if we assign sample and quantum, so we've tested adding new ones, we've tested removing 1, and we're going to test adding 2 and not getting a duplicate on the 3rd. Right? So we should have 3 records. There you go. Okay. There we go. So a little bit over what I want it to be. However, that is perfectly fine. That means good progress. That means tomorrow we'll be working on the UI aspect of this, right? So I can now say, he says with confidence as he looks at the wrong piece, I can say this one's done. This piece has been done. We've got, well, almost done. I need to do integration, but that's a 5 minute job later on today. But then we can go to um, the view side of things, so we understand what that team is, um, and get that knocked out tomorrow, so that we can then get all that data moving to the view and then display it. And we should be good. Anyway, that is me for today, I'm afraid. So I stream 7 till 9 a.m. Eastern, Monday to Friday. Oh yeah, tomorrow is developers that stream. We might have to skip Monday's developers that stream to align, but we'll see. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you for the questions. If you like .NET content, you like smart.net content, One Line is a great streamer. Streams Wednesday through Fridays, and does different things to me on stream. He does Blazor, a lot more Blazor, and a lot of different work projects, so you get to see real production code. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. But I will be back tomorrow with developers.stream. Developers.stream is a project, an open source project aimed at trying to help promote developers.stream. Monday, however, may be a Liquid Sky stream, because then I align my birthday with the 200th Liquid Sky stream if I do that. So we might skip one developers.stream day just to get the numbers aligned properly. So, but that is me for today. We are going to raid maybe again. I do like raiding application developers. Maybe is, developers who are doing stuff that, is on par with what we're doing. So, and maybe is building his own fitness app. A fitness tracker called Barely Fit, which is great. But yeah, I will be back tomorrow, and I'll catch you then. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.